Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle, and this is the first of my recommendations videos for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. Now, I hemmed and hawed over how to do these, if I should try and do multiple prompts in each video, and I finally realized I like to talk about books, and I like to recommend books, so I'm just going to do one recommendation video for each of the prompts, and I hope that's okay. So for this first video, I am going to do the Armand Gamache prompt, which is to read a book with a bilingual detective or one set in a village. Now, if you are not sure what Cloak and Dagger Christmas is, I am going to link to my announcement video. I'm going to put it here in the cards and also link to it down below in the description box. And so check that out, because Cloak and Dagger Christmas is such a fun month-long mystery readathon. So let's just dive right into these recommendations. I'm going to start with recommendations for mysteries with a bilingual detective. I thought I was so brilliant coming up with this prompt, and then I realized that it was quite tricky to think of bilingual detectives, because sometimes you don't know they're bilingual until you get into the story a little bit. And so I actually had a hard time thinking of any, except for a couple. So, I mean, right away, we have to talk about Armand Gamache himself. So he's the detective in the Louise series. It is set in Quebec in Canada. And so he is bilingual. He speaks English and French. And so he was the inspiration for this prompt, so I have to talk about him. I love this series. I think it's fantastic. He is such a great character. He is a good person. He is a good man, and that's unusual nowadays. I mean, I think a lot of the detectives that we follow in mysteries are tortured. You know, we get these tortured detectives who have a really bad family life, or they struggle with alcoholism or anger, or, I mean, whatever, right? Like, it's all about them being tortured. And Armand Gamache isn't. Like, he's got a great family. It's not perfect, but he's got a good family. He's got a wife that he loves. He loves his job. He believes strongly in truth and justice, and he's a good man. And because of that, he has difficult situations to deal with. But I really do love this series, and I can highly recommend it. There are 17 books in this series, published between 2005 and 2021. Next up, I thought, kind of the very first detective I thought of with this prompt was Hercule Poirot. And he obviously is a bilingual detective as well. He speaks English and French also. He is originally from Belgium. And so I had to talk about Hercule Poirot. You're going to hear Agatha Christie recommendations peppered throughout, and I'm okay with that. So I've got two recommendations specifically for you here. Because this is a readathon that takes place in December, I thought, why don't I try and highlight Christmas mysteries if I can. So this is Hercule Poirot's Christmas. It's also called A Holiday for Murder, and this is a Poirot that was published in 1938. So there's a crossover here with one of our other prompts if you want to double up, and that is to read a Golden Age mystery. Now, a lot of times with series, it is recommended that you read them in order. So for example, the Louise mystery, this is the second one that I have here. This is Dead Cold, and I picked this one because it is set during the holidays, but this one is the second book in the series. This one is also called A Fatal Grace. And that's a series that you do need to read in order, mostly because of character development and stuff that's going on there. But the Hercule Poirot series, it really doesn't matter. You can read them in whatever order you want. So if you want to read a Poirot at Christmas and you want a holiday-themed mystery, then A Holiday for Murder or Hercule Poirot's Christmas is perfect. If you want a short story, now remember we had said I mean, at least I did, that you can read anything. You can read short stories, you can read plays, you can read novellas. So I want to also recommend The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding, which is a Hercule Poirot short story that takes place at Christmas. This was published in 1960. And so that is, again, a great option if you want to throw in some short stories so that you can fulfill all the prompts. It's a great idea. And then I have a third detective for you for a bilingual detective. And this is one that I've just discovered myself. And this is the Maharajah Singh. And this is from the Arjun Rajgyand trilogy. This is the first in the trilogy called A Very Puka Murder. Now, Sikander Singh is bilingual. He speaks English and Punjabi, I believe, and it's quite possible he actually speaks more than that. But it was clear in this first book that he speaks English and I believe it was Punjabi. So here is another bilingual detective. This trilogy is set in India in 1909, so it's a really fascinating time period. He is the Maharaja of the princely state of Rajpur, and so that adds some really interesting political elements to the story and conflict to the stories as well. But these are at its core, they feel very traditional, these mysteries. They feel very Agatha Christie. And the second one in the series that I've just gotten out from the library because I want to read this one next is Death at the Derber. And again, this one has moved ahead of a couple of years. This one takes place actually in December in 1911. So that's perfect. This is potentially going on my TBR pile myself if I haven't already read it before December. Okay, let's dive into mysteries that are set in a village. Now, again, this prompt you could do, there are so many mysteries that are set in a village, and so I just have a few here for you. Mel from Melanie Martin made a really good point in her video that Miss Marple by Agatha Christie, that series is kind of like, you know, right up there of like village mysteries, and she's totally right. So I want to recommend On Beulah Height by Reginald Hill. This is part of his DL and Pascoe series. So this is a series about two detectives in Yorkshire in England, and I really enjoy this series. Again, I'm not so sure that this one is a series that you need to read necessarily in order, but I've pulled this one out separately from the series to recommend because, first of all, this is such a fantastic mystery. It's set in a village. So we have the village of Dendale, and 3 girls had gone missing from that village, and Superintendent DL investigated that case when he was much younger, and these girls were never found. And so we have present day Dendale, and Dendale is a village that had been flooded so they could build a reservoir. And when this story opens, the reservoir is sinking and the village is starting to reappear. And so it's fascinating. Like, it's such a great, I think it's just such a great concept for a mystery. And then while all this is happening, another little girl goes missing, and DL can't help but see similarities to that case from 12 years before. So yes, I can highly recommend On Beulah Height by Reginald Hill. And then, oh, and if it matters, this is from 1998. Okay, and then we have Murder at the Mill by M.B. Shaw. And the one great advantage of this one, and one of the reasons why I was so excited to recommend it, is because it is set at Christmas. So it is a village mystery. It fulfills the prompts, and it is set at Christmas. So if you want a holiday mystery, this is a good option for you. This came out in 2017. And this is a mystery about a woman named Iris Gray, and she rents a cottage in a Hampshire village, and she's kind of wanting to escape from her marriage that's falling apart. And there's a neighboring family called the Weatherbees, and so she is commissioned to paint a picture of one of the Weatherbees, who happens to be a crime writer. On Christmas Day, one of the Weatherby family finds a body in the water, and the case goes from there. And I remember really enjoying this. I read it a few years ago, and I thought it was a fun mystery, and I liked that it was set at Christmas. Okay, and then we have starring Miss Seeton by Hamilton Crane. The entire Miss Seeton series could work for this prompt because she lives in a village, and so that is fantastic. This one is also set at Christmas, which is why I'm highlighting this one in particular. Again, this is another series that I don't think you necessarily need to read in order. It's okay that you don't. And this is actually a series that is there's 3 different authors. So the original series was by Heron Carvick, and then it was picked up by Hamilton Crane and Hampton Charles and continued. This one was published in 1994, and you can double up on your prompts because this one could also be used for an amateur sleuth. Miss Seeton is a great character. She's a retired art teacher, and she uses those skills to help her as she investigates the mysteries that pop up. And in this one, she is involved in the annual Christmas pageant in their village, and there is a murder, and she gets involved. And so yeah, I love Miss Seeton. She is such a great character. Okay, and then I can recommend the Kurland St. Mary series by Catherine Lloyd. There are 8 books in this series between 2013 and 2021, and I believe that this series is now finished. Death Comes to the Village is the first one in this series, and they take place in the village of Kurland St. Mary. Not all of the books do, though. A couple of them, they've left the village, but most of them do. This is a series that is set in, I'm going to say, the Regency era in England. Main character is Major Robert Kurland, who has come back from the wars from Waterloo. He was injured at Waterloo, and there is a murder that he investigates. There's another woman from the village, Miss Lucy Harrington, who is the vicar's daughter, and she gets involved as well. And so I quite enjoy this series. So if you're looking for a cozy historical village mystery, you might want to give this one a try. Okay, and then talking about cozy village mysteries, we have the Constable Evans series by Rhys Bowen. This is a series that is set in a village in Wales. There are 10 books in this series published between 1997 and 2006. Constable Evans is the main character, and again, these are just fun, cozy mysteries set in Wales. And then last but not least, we have Aunt Dimity by Nancy Atherton. There are 24 books in this series that were written between 1992 and 2021, and there is a 25th one that's supposed to be coming out next year in 2022. I love the Aunt Dimity series. This is definitely a cozy series that's set in a village in England. Our main character is Laurie Shepherd. She is an American who in the first book learns that she has inherited a cottage in England. I believe that it's in the Cotswolds. And so she goes over there and ends up living in this cottage in this village. And so this, again, like, this is such a great cozy series. I really enjoy it. There is sort of a supernatural element. I don't want to say that because it's not really, but it is technically, but it's not supernatural kind of in the way you might think. It's also, you could double up on the prompts because Laurie Shepherd is definitely an amateur sleuth. So yeah, this is a series that I would highly recommend. And this one is Aunt Dimity's Christmas, which is the 5th book in the series. And this is Aunt Dimity Snowbound, which is the 9th book in the series. So there you have it. Those are my recommendations for the Armand Gamache prompt of reading a mystery with a bilingual detective or a mystery set in a village. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read any of these books or if any of them kind of piqued your interest for books that you might want to read this December for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. Also, I would love it if you could let me know if you know of a bilingual detective that I did not mention. Let me know because I found that one really tricky to discover. Also, do you have a favorite village mystery? Because there are so many village mysteries, but I would love to know what your favorite village mystery is. So also let me know that in the comment section down below, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.